when they instill everything about food, marketing about food, media about food, everything is about enjoyment of food. They create that enjoyment amygdala, enjoyment link to food. And then what happens is then comes the problems, comes obesity, comes emotional problems, comes all these different problems. When those problems happen, that is the challenge, that's the game. What's up, guys? Namaste to everybody, and welcome to another episode of the
Creator Show.
And today we have on the panel, on the far side, we have
Namaste, man.
Namaste Man, the Namaste Man. And then we have
Hola, Nash.
Hola, Nash. And also Faith.
Faith.
Yes, you.
Faith.
Yes.
That's nice.
And then we have
Good girl.
Angela, namaste.
Namaste. Namaste to everybody here on the panel. And today we have an interesting topic talking about veganism. Talking about what's the point in becoming vegetarian or vegan or cutting out meat, or for some still eating KFC. So what is the difference? Hello, Simba.
We have another guest.
Simba,
You wanna
hello, say hi.
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 So what are the benefits? And I think instead of, because obviously a lot of people, they read a lot of things in magazines and health magazines and what people post about spirituality and cutting out meats. But at the same time, you get people writing things or speaking about things where it's like, hey, we're humans, we're supposed to eat meat. This is how the, what do they call it in Simba's circle of life? What do you call it? What do you call that? The circle of life, the thing
food
where
cycle.
you eat. It was in the Lion King, no?
That's a circle of life where you
Is
eat
it?
the
Yeah.
other
Oh, right. So
ones,
you're
yeah.
supposed to do that. So, well, that's what some people say. And instead of doing that, we thought, hey, why not take it to a group of people today who are actually either turned vegan, turned vegetarian, or still eating meat, and what are the differences and why do we do it? What are the benefits? So, go.
I think it's a really coincidental topic that we're on today, because actually this morning I was actually looking into this Netflix series called Humans, and on this episode
Talks about the amygdala.
Yes.
They actually did talk about the amygdala. I was like, oh, this is what Master talked about. What they was actually talking about is the fuel. So what a lot of people sometimes forget is we eat because we need energy in order to do the day-to-day practices. But how that food is processed is a biological chemical reaction towards how we process the different organs within our body. In our practice,
You should watch more of these documentaries. He sounds so much more intelligent.
I'll make you much more.
He is intelligent, though.
but with our spirituality practice, what they don't actually talk about is what the energetic level of how food interacts with our body. For example, whenever what we see on the supermarket shelves are the dead chickens, the meats, the vegetables, right? But we don't see actually what happens before it got into that. And how that actually happens is what you talk about, Master. Energy is everything. What we actually don't see is the process behind how that chicken came onto the shelf and what kind of energy it carried before that happened. So
They talk about that in the Humans documentary.
No, not that part.
So you're quoting someone's documentary, then you're making up your part.
no. There's a reason why I'm doing it in this order, right?
Okay.
So what we eat also carries energy. And if we carry the energy or something that has been drastically how would you call it?
Stabbed
Butchered.
to death.
Stabbed.
Right?
Butchers.
Exploded, imploded.
That energy also carries within our body. And the question is, do you want to carry that kind of energy within your body? I don't think many people would say yes to that. But it's the taste of well, for me, the taste of that chicken before I turned leaf plant-based. Was
Leave plant-based.
now this is man's remix, right?
Leave. I've never
Now
heard
he's
that.
lost all the documentary. Now it's man
Knowledge.
speaking.
This is back to man now. But yeah, it's like before turning vegan, vegetarian, like, you know, going to KFC, grabbing a bucket of chicken was like, you know, a Friday night for me, and I enjoyed that. But
What about now? If you give you a bucket, you wouldn't enjoy it?
No, because now I understand the energetic level of what we eat.
So do you mean when you see a bucket of chicken, then you start thinking of
Don't
You-
get
you
me wrong, the
see
smells,
them.
the smell is good. Like, I don't know what they put in that smell, but it's like, wow, that smells really
But
good.
then KFC have that the vegan
The
stuff.
vegan burger was really
But
nice.
then the batter they put on it actually has a similar taste to the batter that they put on the real one, huh?
So you don't trust what what KFC?
But then it's most likely all made of chemicals anyway.
yes.
Yeah,
Just like
exactly.
just like when a lot of people are eating the plant-based burgers and things like that, they're actually eating chemicals instead of meat,
The
Mhm.
actual.
Yes,
which
that-
doesn't actually make anything any better.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why I'm thinking like why do we need to be so focused on? Why can't we just focus on what we are doing right now? Like
What are you
What are
doing?
we doing?
What
What
are
are
you doing?
we are serving, right? We are practicing as Master Sri Akarshana, as yoginis. I'm a practitioner as well. That's why we try to, you know, in our own way to bring a better energy to the world. And but if we focus for me, I'm just thinking, right? When I slowly having that appetite of, oh, I want to eat meat, or I want to eat like a particular meal. I'm eating because I need to eat.
Like duck's tongue. Or
Chicken feet.
Chicken feet.
yeah.
Well, I see them, so feel, oh, that's
or pig's
nice.
intestines.
The barbecue one, the intestines, they're
Okay.
amazing.
I can just imagine all the comments coming in right now.
British people
Yes,
don't
that's
talk about
our
that.
Nash.
Yeah, the Chinese. Oh, I don't eat dogs.
they say.
No, I don't
So
eat
that's her
dogs.
good statement.
Yes.
Hey, by the way, good karma. I don't eat dogs.
No, I think it's
No, but
Indian.
you know they say Chinese eats anything that moves.
Monkeys as well.
Monkey.
Yeah, but let's not go into that.
No, I'm not going to that.
That's not
no.
saying all Chinese. I mean, obviously we cannot say all Chinese. But
I think it's like the Indian thing is like the basic human needs, and when we are practicing, we are like, okay, so we know that's just basic human needs. Like you man said, it's a fuel.
Yes.
And yes, I understand. A lot of people are talking about what about behind the scene, like all the process from this little calf, little baby, and then to being butchered, all the process. But then at the same time, you also don't know the vegetables.
Of course.
being butchered,
How they
stabbed the
They also-
carrot.
Electrified.
they also actually have
Who cut the
spirits.
broccoli?
How do you butcher the
Broccoli. So,
Yes, vegetable life matters. Seriously,
but
so
broccoli also, but same thing. Everything is life, so
Yeah.
same thing has energy.
yeah. So, but I don't understand. Some people say, "Oh, actually, meat made them feel more fatigue, easier." But in the end of the day, for me, I just feel if we just be balanced about everything, then we concentrate on what we can do as a good, a kind, a genuine human being.
You know, it's an interesting thing because we've already heard twice about food for fuel, for energy. But yeah, at the same time, we've all been in a situation where we eat too much food and then we lose energy. And I think that in a lot of our practices is more to do with becoming more aware of the body and seeing how because our body uses energy to process food. When you haven't got so much food, which is very filling and full of carbs or sugars and things like that, that needs to be processed by the body, then the body you can redirect that energy and use it for something else, you know. And so I think in a lot of our practices, the reason behind it is actually not thinking food is for energy, more so that a lot of the food that most people are eating is consuming a lot of energy, because we've all had food coma before, you know, and it probably happens a lot. When you begin a meal, you look at it, you're extremely, extremely excited, and you're like, wow, I get to eat. And at the end of the meal, you sat there thinking,
what have I done?
what have I done? I never want to do that again, you know? And I think that type of culture, especially when people are used to that type of upbringing, I mean, we cannot say it's healthy. We cannot, because you're signaling. After the meal, you're signaling, right? If you're like this after the meal, your body, your reaction, your expression is already telling you, was that healthy or not? I think that's not so much to do with whether meat or no meat, but that's just to do with how people eat these days. You know.
So, Master, how you feel after you stop eating?
Yeah, how long has it been now since you lost?
It's been about 5 years now. I think that when I first no, actually it was one of those things. It's similar to Jane.
Yeah.
I said for 3 years. I remember I was keep meeting people who are vegan and vegetarian and all this type of stuff. I remember meeting these people and then seeing how they're all, you know, say it's healthy, it's good for energy, everything is spiritual and all the rest of it. And so I used to always say to people, I think I'm going to go vegan soon. I think I'm going vegetarian soon. And I said that for 3 years, having the odd part-time vegan day, just like this guy does.
Half day vegan.
We were down in London, and at one meal he says, "Oh yeah, I'm trying this vegetarian thing." I'm thinking, "Whoa, wow, that's really good." So he's just eating leaves and stuff.
And just now he asked me about
and then at dinner
chicken.
time he's eating chicken. I'm just like, that didn't last very long. It lasted like 6 hours, you know. But I was like that for 3 years, and it was interesting because I realized that I didn't have a reason why. It was just because everybody else was saying so, and I didn't really know. So that's why I didn't actually do it. And then one day, it just happened. And it wasn't a slow burner. It wasn't like, oh, I'm missing meat. It was literally one day, I got it, and I stopped. And then when I stopped, it was instant. I didn't crave meat or anything like that. I just felt like I could feel my body and hear my body and what it's craving, what it's wanting, what it's not wanting. It was a really weird thing. But the interesting thing is about this energy thing, when I first cut it, I felt that I was losing energy. I felt like I didn't have energy because I go to gym, lift weights, and do things like that. Now, there's a very interesting thing there, because now I call it the transition period, is because through that time, there's a lot of it's mentality as well, because my dad's non-stop saying, where are you going to get energy from? Where are you going to get energy from? So you're going to be brainwashed eventually to think, oh my God, there's no energy. And anytime you meet, anytime any vegetarian or vegan, when you go, and I'm sure a lot of listeners or people viewing this right now could relate to this, is that when you turn vegan or vegetarian, when you're eating alongside meat eaters, whenever you sit down, they're always like, where do you get your protein from? Yeah. And it's like, what? Because protein is everywhere, you know. And if you look at vegan bodybuilders, right?
Yeah.
They're made of tofu.
Made of tofu. But the transition period, the first part was, yes, I did feel like I'm missing something, but it's because the body's not used to it yet. And I realized that same transition happened when I cut coffee as well. I cut caffeine. It was the same thing. At first, you feel more tired, and you feel, oh, I don't know, I need coffee, because it's what people say. They use this affirmation every day, I need my coffee. And so they force themselves, brainwash themselves to believe that. And then when they don't have it, they feel like there's a lack. And that happened maybe for 3 months or something like that. And I started to lose a lot of weight as well. And I didn't want to lose weight. I wanted to build muscle at the time, so I was getting skinnier and skinnier. But I realized that was just the transition period, because the system's in a bit of shock. It's changing. But what I realized afterwards, I realized that you can still get fat being a vegetarian or vegan, and your energy does come back. But what I realized was, let's say strength. I realized that, yes, that energy comes back to be able to lift heavy weights or be powerful and be strong. But when I talk about the energy that it gives now is not so much strength energy. How I actually feel is that without meat, body feels lighter. That's how I feel. I feel it's more, it's just, I feel like I can fly.
I think
It
it's
feels like
like,
that, you know?
when we talk about, like, yesterday we're doing our 11-day yoga challenge, and actually one of the participants typed in the chat like, oh, how can I make my body lighter and
Eat less.
eat less? But it's not only about eating less, but eating purposeful. Like, if we train, we are not gonna go eat like an hour before like a Beyond Burger or like all of the different things and then go train, right? Like, because we're doing these practices, and then we know, okay, maybe we don't eat 3 hours before or 2 hours before, for us to know that when we go train, we only are using the energy for another purpose. In this case, yoga for manifestation, for our manifestations to go into our meditation. So I think when it comes, I mean, for me especially, it was a little bit similar like you. It kind of slowly started shifting and listening to my body, like, why is it that I don't crave meat anymore? And my family is very meat eater, like we have cows. Like my family, like I think only one person apart from myself were vegetarians. And then when I was transitioning and going back home during Christmas, they were like, where is it gonna be your protein? Like, what are you gonna eat? Like,
How
what
big
do you
is
eat?
your family?
My family is like 36 people overall. Like, so imagine like they telling me like you're like an alien just eating like plant-based, right? But it's completely different, because then if I didn't listen to my body, and if I were to eat meat or something like that at that point, it will be totally, my body will completely reject it otherwise. And so I think it's more about first listening to your body. And if you're going into the sense of spirituality, what we learn, or the reason why I do it as well, is compassion towards the animals. Because one man said about how they get killed or how they get processed and all of the different things, those are energies that go into your body somehow. And one of the things that I've noticed, I think I've been vegetarian for like 2 years and a half, 3 years and a half, and my mood levels as a woman, I don't know if you experience this, Nash, but as a woman you get a lot of emotional imbalances, or like sometimes you might be happy and sometimes you may be sad just because of the hormones, right? But what I've noticed for the last few years that I've been vegan and vegetarian, they don't change as much as they used to change while I was eating chicken or meat or whatever.
So you're very lucky, man. You met her at the right time, huh?
People are not,
You met her at the right time.
women start typing like that's a feminism or whatever. But I need to say, because I think that's also because you are a practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
You become a practitioner at the same time you cut. Because I'm a practitioner, so before I become a practitioner, I'm really moody as well. I'm 100 times worse, okay?
Nobody wants to see that.
No. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Like what Master also says, just, I don't know. Like, I will not say I will be a meat eater forever. I also start, I think for us, we are spirituality or start being conscious about what we do. I think that's the most important thing, is to listen to ourselves. Sometimes I will feel like I want salad, and sometimes I feel like I don't feel like to eat, like I don't need that much food.
So
I
sometimes feel like a donkey.
Yes. Like, oh my God, I want to really just eat 500.
But you know what? This is, I think it's so much, the journey has so much to do with the journey of consciousness, because there is a place where you can cut meat and it's bad for you. And this is what I've said with Jane's story before as well.
Yeah.
It's like, because
What happened to Jen?
because there's two parts to it. The first part is what we can refer to as a placebo effect, where you believe in something, therefore it's true. You don't believe in it, therefore it's not true. So that is going on. And then reality, like real energy on the energetic level that we cannot even talk about because it's just is, right? Because everything is energy. So if you look at these two things, let's say, for example, just like Dr. Emoto talked about water and how water has emotions. If just water can have emotions, never mind meat or anything we consume or even broccoli or whatever has emotions, right? It has emotions. So
vegetable life matters.
So depending on how it was through its life and we consume it, obviously when we consume that energy, that becomes a part of us too. So we are absorbing some of that energy. But that is more the unconscious, because that is not while you're drinking or while you're eating something, you're like, wow, I feel every part of the horror going into my body. You don't feel that way, right? But that's one side. The second side is the placebo, which is the mindset towards it, where it's the thought. Let's say, for example, if Nash does not have a thought that it's bad, then it's not as bad. If you have a thought that it's good, then it's good. But if somebody has a thought, and this is where Jane was, where eating meat was delicious and so nice, yet at the same time I heard this thing about vegan and it's very good, I'm eating lettuce while being very sad and upset and angry. Why am I even eating this rabbit food, you know? and eating that thing, then that placebo effect is actually countering and probably creating even worse vibration than the meat itself. Mm-hmm. And so I believe there's this fine line in that consciousness where, okay, well, don't force yourself. Nobody should force themselves to be. We never preach. We never say everybody needs to or anything like that. We say anybody eats whatever they want to eat. Because if you force somebody, then their mindset is feeling horrible when they become vegan and vegetarian. Then it doesn't do what it was supposed to do in the first place.
I think it's like a personal journey. Like, I mean, if you look at from the perspective of law of attraction, and the vibration of Jane eating lettuce at that point was probably not the highest. But if you learn,
so
or
lettuce was okay, happy, nice positivity. Jane wasn't
very happy at all. But it has to do a lot with your own journey, and if it's like I say, when you become more responsible or more aware, it doesn't mean that you have to go completely vegan or vegetarian. But once you have a knowledge, once you have, like for example, for me, I had to see one time, even after becoming vegetarian, how the chickens were, being able to see and seeing how that happened. I guess in my own mind, I cannot cope with eating another chicken just because I see how they suffer, and it got something to me personally. So like when you know about something of that matter, then you're consciously doing something that it doesn't feel right. So it has to be something on your own personal journey. At some point you will decide if you would like to do that or not. So it opens up another route of free will, but it's a personal journey. Like you have to be happy eating plant-based leaf food overall. So
yeah, I think it will come down to awareness. Essentially, when you're a baby, you don't have that awareness yet because you're being fed to be alive, right, by your parents. But once you grow older and you become more aware of what goes in your body and what is options, then you can make that conscious decision. Hey, does this feel good eating the chicken, or does it not feel good after being aware? So I think it just comes down to how the individual feels with consuming with the information that we have.
Yeah, because if you're happy, then it's
Yeah,
good that you're happy.
Don't get me wrong, I've seen all those documentaries. I know how to kill a fish as well.
You know when they say, when we say, as long as you're happy, I think that happy is there's a at the time, and there's a afterwards. And I think people don't usually think about the afterwards. They think about at the time. It's just like when people overeat, it's the same thing. Actually, if this was cancelled out, this thing that I'm about to say was cancelled out, there'd be nobody who's overweight in the world. What that is we have linked food to so much pleasure. I know on this panel we all love food here. Yeah, we linked it to so much pleasure that we think, oh, as long as I'm happy, so I eat. But if we ask deep down inside, when we're observing the afterwards, whether we're observing this thing here, whether right, whether we whenever, you know, I don't know, just a bit of running, we're feeling so tired or whatever, whenever those times, we don't feel happy. We feel like, oh, I want to get rid of this thing. So I think that there's two parts to the happiness that people don't really think about. And I think an interesting thing was, because I remember the last isolation you did, was it fasting for 3 days or 5 days? 5 days, yeah. And I think it was like third day, fourth day, or fifth day, or something like that. You said that actually you're not really hungry, right? And that's a very interesting thing, because actually, if people fast, they will realize that they're not really hungry. When you do 1 day fast, 2 day fast, 3 day fast, you're not really hungry. You have a desire to eat, and that is an addiction. I will find pleasure when I eat. I just need to have some taste in the mouth to feel that. But they're not actually hungry, especially when you do 3 day, and then it's home run, because you don't feel anything. Like, you know you're going to survive, you know?
I think it's a lot to do also with the culture that you live, right? Like, for example, as a Latin, you're surrounded by food, like everything, in every celebration or every anything at all, like it involves food, right? So like my background is something happens, food, right? You got something, food, or you got sad, let me buy you an ice cream, or you gotta break up, let's go get ice cream. You know, like everything is surrounded with food, and this is something that we watch in the documentary that we were watching with Man. It's like humans has created this culture of food. Everywhere you go, there is some type of food, right? And not only the culture aspect, but the emotions aspect, right? Like for me, it has been a tough journey per se, coming to lose weight or to be in a standard of skinny standard. And it has to do a lot with emotions, because it has that emotion trigger to, oh, if I'm anxious, I know like now I'm recognizing more, like if I'm anxious, like I know I want sugar or I want carbs to, you know, satiate whatever I'm feeling. But now it's like becoming more aware of like breathe and not do anything. But until you don't become more aware of what is happening inside, and realizing that when I did the 3 day fasting or the 5 day fasting, my mind was shifted to let me learn more about the spirituality aspect, let me learn more about different things, then my mind and my focus changed it.
But the fascinating thing is, you can fast for 3 days, you can fast for 5 days, you can fast for 15 days and not feel hungry. But imagine you fast for 15 days not feeling hungry, yet at the same time, you on average, you're eating 3 meals a day plus all the snacks in between. Like, then it comes the question mark of, where on earth is all that going to, and why are you doing it, and what's the point, you know? But this is a very interesting thing, what you're saying there, where we talk about cultures, and Chinese people, they'll say, oh, you don't understand, you know, for Chinese it's very difficult. Like Christine said to me, she said, oh, how do we do it? I'm in Malaysia, it's all full of food, it's not possible to do it, you know? And then you meet Indians who are like, you know, our culture is all about celebrating with food, you know? So actually, you realize everyone thinks their culture is about food, when in fact everyone's culture is about food, right? And do you know the reason behind why every culture is about food?
It's because it brings people together at the end of the day.
It's scary.
No. Remember I talked about the human game? That's the challenge. When they instill everything about food, marketing about food, media about food, everything is about enjoyment of food, they create that enjoyment amygdala, enjoyment link to food. And then what happens is then comes the problems, comes obesity, comes emotional problems, comes all these different problems. When those problems happen, that is the challenge, that's the game. Now there's a fight to try to get out of it, because what's the game? Again, what's it linked to? When we talk about human game, it's linked to, again, money. Because how do you solve obesity? How do you solve, I mean, gym memberships, what's all the diet food, all the organic food? Imagine this. Imagine how interesting the society is, where it's like, okay, you can buy this vegetable, right? And then it's like, okay, let me spray some chemicals on it. Okay, okay, you guys all buy this vegetable. Okay, then it's like, oh, you want the one without chemicals? Okay, pay $1 more. And it's like, what do you mean? You mean all of them? You mean all of the ones that you're feeding us all have chemicals? But if I don't want chemicals on my one, I need to pay $1 more, $2 more, right? That's the interesting thing. The whole money thing, health conditions, come obesity and all the problems, right? Health conditions feeds what? The biggest thing in the world, pharmaceuticals, everything. But we won't dive into conspiracy theory today.
But I just want to say, like, when we are talking about happiness, but at the same time, what is happiness? Because when we are talking about it, I've just realized that, you know, when you're deeper into your practicing journey, I don't know if Master would relate to that, you start getting less emotional. It is not only about what you eat, but like what you say, like the culture start link food and happy together. But when you start more conscious about what you eat, or actually I don't need to eat, or actually I don't really need this, I will eat when I desire to eat. And, you know, in the back, behind all this at the same time, it's like, I'm scared of being starved. I'm scared of not having food. Chinese culture, another thing about stored a lot of food in your house, right? You definitely have, if there's another lockdown, right? If you go to Chinese people's home,
no problem.
You can survive for another 3 months. They don't even realize that. You just can't, you know, like, so it's about, I think, maybe like after war, you know, we still have that kind of needs, and maybe in time. So now, like, we have the luxury to start thinking about spirituality. We have the luxury to think about, like, a lot of people, like my auntie would say, you practice after you make enough money, after you retire. I'm like, no, you practice now. Because I don't have anything now. So that's why I start practicing. So I start to understand, oh, do I need meat? Do I need vegetables? Do I need to even eat? Because we are entering this journey, and to understand, oh, this happiness, all these things, they are also human game, right? So I think it's really nice it's really blessed that even that you are watching this show, because you start feeling like you want to know more. And so, like what Master say, we're not, like, we can do everything, but it's about if we are conscious about what we do, and I think that's really important as well, like the ultimate happy.
Yeah, I think like what's been mentioned already is that our practice is for compassion. And as what Nash mentioned earlier as well, because our game is helping people. Every day our game is helping people. So whether we talk about karma or what we talk about, this are all the good deeds we put in the world. Our goal is to put as much good and everything positive as we can in the world. Now, will everything be positive? Of course not, because there will be times. There will be times we get upset or angry or do things or make mistakes or things like that. That will happen. In the same sense that Grandmaster once said, he said our practice is for compassion, but it's not stupid, because in the sense that if we are, let's say, in mountains and we are dying, there's nothing to eat, there's something we have to kill, we will eat, and this is what human will do anyway, you know. And so eating meat that's not the problem. I think it's just saying that, okay, how can we spread more love and positivity to the world? And that's the main goal we have, I think, in this
being
space.
Grateful, being grateful, like, because we cannot keep from. A few years ago, I seen a news about I think in England, because there's some vegetarians, or how do you call them, veganisms. They're lash into some farms, butchers' farm, taking some illegal actions but that's how they survive. That's their job. Their job's to be a butcher, and maybe that's what they know. And does that make them bad people? Right? So like what Master says about compassion, and is a whole thing.
I think too many people, they that's a very important point as well. What you just mentioned there is because, like I said before, we are not a culture who is saying you must do this or you must do that. Everybody is on their journey. They understand their thing, and whatever works for them, whatever is good for them, then it's good for them. At the end of the day, the only message we're sharing is love and positivity. If we become conscious and do more practices that way, then the world can be a better place, and that's all. But we should not disrupt just like that. Some people disrupt, some people go on strike and create all this chaos and divide, and I'm not, otherwise we wouldn't even be sitting together on this panel today. You sit over there. Right?
Adios.
So I think that's the most important thing. And I think if anybody who is watching this show has any questions or anything like that, or have any of your experiences or your thoughts and beliefs and you would like to share, just share inside the comments below. I'd like to say, first of all, a big thank you to our panel today.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you enjoyed this video or you got anything out of it whatsoever, please do hit the thumbs up, hit the like button. Also comment below, let us know where you guys have tuned in from. That's always nice to know. And finally, if you're new to this channel and you haven't already, remember to hit that subscribe button and the notifications button next to it. That's a little bell sign, by the way, because this year we're dedicated to making weekly creator show for you guys to hold you accountable to make it your best year yet. And by the way, I just want to make one more note. If you guys do listen to podcast shows, you can actually find us on Buzzsprout, all of the podcast platforms. If you search Creator Show or I Am Creator, you'll be able to subscribe and download our podcast from there. Other than that, we're signing out. Love and prayers. Namaste.
Running through the last of my thoughts, standing on the edge of my time.